everyone, and welcome back to the Captain Logan Show. It is me, Captain Logan, and joining me as always is my wonderful chat moderator and producer, DJ Martinez. Hello, DJ.
Hello.
How's the life, man? How's your evening going? I haven't seen you in a whole 48 hours.
48 hours. Wow. 48 hours and 15 minutes. Actually, minus 2 hours. Anyway, it's been 2 days.
It's been a couple days. And, a lot can happen in 2 days. And in the last 2 days, honestly, not a whole lot has happened.
Nothing much. Been doing a lot of yard work.
It was a somewhat slow news week up until just today, and I took the risk of picking a lead-in topic that wasn't news-related, DJ, because it was something I thought would be kind of interesting and fun to talk about. Sort of like what we did on Tuesday, where it was just kind of, topical enough because it's happening right now, but not like an immediate, in-your-face, whoa, Zaslav wave. I was kind of trying to, avoid being like part 20 or 21 of the Warner Brothers saga, the DC Warner Brothers saga, and I thought it'd be a nice change of pace this week to try some different things. And then we found out this afternoon that Amazon has apparently greenlit, or they're in talks to do a Spider-Man noir show, and I went, oh, that's probably what tonight's topic should have been about, but I already had DJ working on a thumbnail for tonight's show, so we can talk about that a little bit later. I'm sure more people would have decided to pop in and hang out with us tonight if that was indeed the lead-in topic, but we could deal with that as well a little bit later. I don't have a ton to say, but it's very interesting that Sony has finally had this insane realization that maybe people want to see Spider-Man in their Spider-Man shows and movies. Isn't that crazy? Live action stuff. Isn't that crazy? It's got to be tangentially related to the only thing that they've made so far that I think has been worth anything that wasn't MCU related. But yeah.
Yeah, maybe what people liked about Spider-Verse was the spider and not the verse part. Maybe we just want to see Spider-Man.
Shocking. Yeah. Sony should have a Spider-Verse spinoff called Verse.
Verse.
Yeah. And then the sequel would be called Chorus. But anyway, so
I can't wait for Bridge to really bring it all together.
So tonight we're Coda. So tonight we're gonna talk about hate watching things and what kind of the difference between hate watching and just watching something that you're not loving, not sure about, but hoping it gets better. Is this a terrible practice all the way around, or is there some merit to it? Is there a reason to do that? Can it be kind of a fun pastime, or is it a really unhealthy behavior that we should all stop doing? And is it keeping things on television that should otherwise be dropped off of television? I think this is an interesting thing to kind of talk the ins and outs of a little bit. So that'll be tonight's lead-in topic. Feel free to leave a question about anything geek-related that you want to tonight. Anything within reason. We'll talk about pop culture stuff, sci-fi, superheroes, retro video games, whatever you want to chat about. And quick plug for tomorrow night's big event. I'm going to be bringing back Counting Crypto Freaks. It is Counting Crypto Freaks The Revenge. And we're going to be doing 24-hour streams now, watching entireties of seasons of Smallville. So my new co-host, John, and I, we're going to be watching. Wow, I've already lost my mind, and we haven't even started that show yet.
Hasn't even started the madness yet.
Cap's gonna need some sleep before the Crypto Freaks keep him up all night. But yeah, the Crypto Freaks are chomping at the bit to be counted, and that's what we're gonna be doing tomorrow night. I hope some folks will pop in and hang out with us. It's gonna be a really interactive show. We're gonna ask you guys, anybody that decides to come in and watch with us, to help us count the Crypto Freaks and lots of other things. We're going to be counting times people walk away from each other angry. It's early, so we're going to be talking about Clark and Lana in the loft, which they are constantly in that space. We're going to be counting every time somebody gets conveniently knocked unconscious. All of those things and more. I've got a whopping list of 15 things that we're going to be counting throughout the season. I'm also going to do giveaways. There might be some karaoke. Lots of crazy things are going to happen on that show. It's going going to be wild. And come and hang out with us, and it should be a good time, and I should lose my mind at some point if I haven't already. And make sure, if you want to make sure that your really, did I say that? If you would like to make sure that your question, concern, idea is discussed tonight on the lead-in topic or any other topic, you can leave a super chat, any dollar amount, and that guarantees that. We want to say thanks so very much to anybody who has or is tonight planning to help us out monetarily in that way. Thank you very much. That keeps the train rolling here on Geekvolution and helps me continue to do this as close to full-time as I can. And we're going to go ahead and get right into things, DJ. So I want to mention real quick that I saw a comment before the show started where somebody said, I'm sure Velma, the TV show, the HBO Max show, is going to come up with this conversation. That is one of the things that made me think of this. The term hate watching has been coming up a lot lately. It's not a new term. It's not like this is a thing that nobody was talking about before, but it's been kind of a taboo idea as of late because a lot of people are blaming hate watching for that season being greenlit for a second season, that series greenlit for a second season, despite the fact that most people seem to really dislike it, and despite a lot of bad reviews. And so this seems like an example of a show that, all things being equal, were there no internet, obviously a show like this couldn't exist without the internet, in lots of different ways, not just because it's on HBO Max, but also because, yeah, it's a real meme-baity sort of thing. This doesn't exist without social media, without the internet. But it seems like a thing that, all things being equal, would not sustain an audience that actually wanted to be there watching it. Did we hate watch the same way, when I was a kid, or like in the late 90s, early 2000s, as we do these days, that would, be enough to keep a thing like this on? The fact that you can go online, chat about it with other people, build up a lot of kind of, like vitriol and share each other's animosity for a thing, I think kind of gives people, whether you're like tweeting about it or making videos about it, I think it gives people more incentive to hate watch a thing. Now, I've not seen that show. I've kind of stayed away from that whole thing because A, I'm not a Scooby-Doo guy, and B, everything I've heard about it, I do not care. It certainly seems like a thing that I should stay a million miles away from. So I got no dog in that fight, but it does seem to be kind of a topical thing right now. So DJ, is this a pastime that you yourself ever engage in? Because I certainly am guilty of it. And obviously, the reason we put Gotham and Smallville in the thumbnail is I didn't want, because DJ immediately, when I told him about it, he was like, well, we're putting Gotham and Smallville in the thumbnail, right? And I said, yes. And I had already thought of at least doing Smallville. I wanted to get ahead of this and make sure that nobody was going to think, oh, Cap's going to get on a soapbox and preach against this idea, even though he's profited from it making videos where he's watched things he doesn't like and knew he probably wouldn't like and talked about it anyway. So clearly I am to some degree guilty of this. We can quibble over semantics and argue about whether what I do is hate watching, and maybe we should define terms with that. But DJ, as far as you understand what the term means, is this a thing that you ever engage in?
Not that I know of. This is something that this is a phenomenon that I do not understand very much. So I'm hoping, yes, I don't know. I think it'll be a good conversation. I drop off, especially TV, because I'm not a huge TV guy. Like if I don't like one or two episodes in a row, I'm gone. Like I don't want to spend time watching anything that I'm not enjoying. So I hate the idea that like, oh, just stick with it for 2 seasons and it'll be good. Like I don't want to waste that much time for 2 seasons and maybe I'll like it in season 3. Like I don't. So yeah, this is not something I do, but I understand, especially for you specifically, why you do stuff like this. But I'm not a reviewer. I don't have any goals to ever be a reviewer, so I don't even ever like feel a call to be objective, because I'm not telling people if what my objective thoughts are on this. If I don't like it, I just turn it off or don't go back to it. So it's a very different situation.
Yeah, I want to make the distinction a little bit. I think, DJ, and tell me if you agree with this. I think because obviously I'm in something of a special boat. I'm kind of a special case. People want to know what I think about certain things that are in a realm that I'm interested in. Obviously, I'm not reviewing everything I could be. There are a lot of things that I have tried that I didn't like that I could have continued reviewing and complaining about, but chose not to for the sake of my own sanity, and because there were other things vying for my attention. And so I'll do a quick sign flip. I mean, my videos are never quick, but I'll do a sign flip review of the pilot of a thing, or maybe the first season of a thing, and then if I think it sucks, I won't necessarily look at it again. Or if a show really falls off that I was really engaged in, I may not continue with it just for the sake of reviewing. But I think there is a difference between critics watching things that they're paid, or whether they're paid or not, that as you say, the goal is to tell an audience whether you appreciate it or not, and going into a thing knowing you may not like it. I think there's a difference between that kind of awareness of this is probably not going to be my bag, or I've seen the previous movies in this franchise and I didn't like all 5 of those, but maybe the 6th one will be great. I don't know, but I gotta watch it because I'm a movie reviewer or whatever it is. I think there's a big difference between that and what is being touted up as hate watching, which is you're not going to like it, or even you've already decided before you look at it that you're not going to like it, or that like it hasn't been good. So even if it like ticked up a little bit, you may not even notice that, because the purpose, the goal, the whole reason you're there is because I've hated this all along, and there is some kind of enjoyment, perverse or otherwise, that I'm getting out of hating this thing. That's hate watching.
That I never do. That is what I don't understand. Like, I don't get any joy. I don't even like talking about things that I don't like that much. Like No Way Home. I didn't do the spoiler cast with you because I was like, I don't have anything to say about this. When Dan came on my channel and we ranked the Spider-Man films, we talked about No Way Home for like 30 seconds and then moved right past it, because I don't know. I don't get that. I know a lot of people do get that enjoyment. Like, oh, you hated this and I hated this, and we could talk about it and like rag on it, and it's super. I don't get my kicks from that. So I never go into something hoping I'm gonna hate it or already thinking I'm gonna hate it. And I don't get that. I didn't watch Thor: Love and Thunder because I had a feeling that I wouldn't like it.
Well, don't get me wrong. I don't mean to throw all of this in a blender necessarily. There's also a difference, and maybe you can call both of these things hate watching. But there is a difference between I'm not liking this, but I'm finding some level to have fun with it on, which I absolutely do with stuff. And that's how you can make videos entertaining that people are sitting through stuff that you're not liking, and maybe the majority of people looking at it aren't caring for the kind of so bad it's good thing, or so bad it's bad, but you're finding an angle to make it fun for yourself. I think that is still different than walking into a thing expecting to hate it or deciding that you've hated that you hate it. The things that I'm going to say the only things I've ever, if I can even put myself in that bag, hate watched have been things that I was invested in that got crappy.
Yeah, that's Smallville.
That's Smallville. And Gotham's a little different because that started weird, but I thought it had potential. It was always kind of weird, but even if that was horrendous from the beginning, and some people feel like it was, I do feel like I can put that kind of in the same category as, but I'm interested in Batman.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And this is a thing that has some merit to it, because look at the production value, look at some of the casting, like there's stuff going for it. The things that I've done that with the most are things that have huge missed opportunities that should be great, and they're just not. And how come? And it's frustrating, and you keep hoping for them to get better. So there's maybe a perverse pleasure you're getting out of making fun of it and dogging on it and kind of pointing and laughing and going, I mean, how could it be like this? Like how in the how do you do how is that how you did Bane in your 5th season of Gotham? Like that was the choice. Okay, that was your Azrael. Oh, all right. And like what characters are gonna stay dead? Oh, none. Oh, none of them. Okay, but like, I think there's, and again, I'm not. I don't want to say that this never counts as hate watching. This is not me putting myself above anybody, because I think I do kind of do that to some degree. But it's always with stuff that I have some kind of interest in and investment in the first place. And I like new Star Trek is also a huge thing like that, which I've pretty much jumped ship from now. Strange New Worlds I was liking fine. Second half I wasn't as into, but I'll still check out that 2nd season. And that's not hate watching. I was actually enjoying some things about that. Quite a bit about that. But then I got huge issues with it, but it's still, it feels like Star Trek to some degree. It's still watchable. And Pike is amazing. I wish he'd get some screen time in his own show, but he's amazing. But then but then you look at Picard and it's like, DJ, are you there?
I'm here.
I have completely frozen up here. Hold on. All of a sudden, my camera just decided to eject itself. Hang on.
Oh, I hit the ejector seat.
Why'd you do that?
That'd be awesome if it actually like popped off the top of your.
This happens every so
laptop.
often with this camera. Anyway, sorry about that, folks.
Hey.
Yeah, no, we're good. I've got this down to a science at this point.
2319. When you come up with a code word.
Yeah, sorry about that. Anyway, but like Picard was a weird animal because even though it was pretty awful I like the pilot, okay, and then after that it tanks completely. And I watched that whole 1st season. I watched that whole 2nd season, and my wife and I both watched that together, and we knew we were gonna probably hate every minute of it because we continued hating every minute of it. But in the back of my mind, there was always this hope that somewhere it would redeem itself, somewhere it would turn itself back around. And so, DJ, can I have my cake and eat it too on this, where I can? And I think some of this is just to preserve my own sanity, where, like, on the one hand, I can watch a thing that I'm hating, and I can pick it apart and find the things that are kind of funny about it or bizarre about it that are bad. And I realize that this is not a thing you do, so you and I are kind of on with different worlds with this. But this is a thing I find kind of fun, especially if I have to talk about it. But then at the same time, also be quote-unquote objective enough or unbiased enough to open-minded enough to hope it turns around. Like, I'm still not walking in wanting it to be terrible, but I mean, when it is, I'm calling it out and I'm laughing at it.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's. I think. Would you agree that this is much more, not exclusively, but more of a TV thing than a movie thing?
Generally speaking, although we had some of this with Marvel Mania.
Well, yeah, but again, it's hard for me to. It's something that we have to do.
Yeah,
it's different than like I'm choosing to go into this knowing I'm going to hate it. But I mean, that's semantics, I guess. But yeah, like we said we were going to do it, and it's like, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, half is such a strong word, right? Like, I go out and I see every superhero movie and I review them all on the channel, and there have been some that in the last couple of years that have been like, I really don't want to go see that, but I've ended up going to anyway. Am I hate watching at that point?
I don't think so, because you're still trying to have a balanced approach and trying to be objective, and you do talk about things you do like. I don't think that, like, especially if you brought up the Velma thing, like, I feel like nobody, or some people did, but I feel like the people you're talking, I didn't even know this was a thing. I didn't even know this was like a headliner that people were hate watching it. But
yeah.
It seems like those people
and apparently
went into
that's
it wanting to hate it, not like hoping it's good.
Yeah, the big headline is that show, and I don't know how much truth there is to this, the big headline is that show got renewed for a 2nd season because the ratings were so high just because of hate watching.
Wow. Yeah, I don't understand that. I haven't watched that yet. So I have no dog in that fight. I don't know what it is. I'm a Scooby-Doo guy, but I don't like when they do parody stuff. Like I never liked the kid version that they did. That was a parody.
Well, and you won't want to watch this because that's a super raunchy thing that's on the level of Harley Quinn. Like they're trying to do Harley Quinn for Scooby-Doo.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, I'm not a big parody guy. I don't even like well, I like it, but the Scooby-Doo Guess Who thing and like trying to go back and recapture and do like kind of like a remake. I don't even like that show. I don't even like that they're doing that much. Scooby-Doo's always like doing different things. I don't like that they're kind of playing nostalgia with that Guess Who show.
Yeah.
But yeah, I haven't watched Velma yet. I don't know anything about it. But we just got a super chat about it, so I guess we'll talk about it in a minute. But yeah, I didn't know people were doing that. That's why. If you, this is so backwards to me. Like, why would you spend how many is like 8 episodes, probably like 30 minutes a piece? Like, you're gonna spend 4 hours watching something that it just makes you miserable.
Yeah. So this is a thing that I absolutely see both sides to. Even going into it on purpose, knowing that you're probably going to hate it, or hearing things that tick you off about it, because a lot of this with something like Velma is political. A lot of it is the perceived, and I hate this word, but that's the word people are using. The whole kind of wokeism thing. It's people that consider themselves anti-woke and think it's important to point out everything that they think is ruining the culture because it has that ideology or that approach to things, right? And so when I say I can see both sides to it, what I mean is if you think something is like really really awful and it offends you and you want other people to know that it's out there, I can kind of see looking at it and talking about it and being like, because some of it is also just not being out of touch with the culture. Like if you avoid everything you don't like, but then you complain about things that are being made, it's kind of a contradiction because how do you know? Like you're saying that, like, I've been really hesitant to talk too much about new comics recently because it's really easy for me to go, here's the laundry list of things I don't like about current comics, but I haven't read hardly anything in 4 or 5 years. So how do I know what's really going on? I can tell you the things that put me off when I quit. But, like, what do I really know? So I can kind of see dipping your toe into stuff so that you've got a well-rounded enough understanding of the culture and of what's going on in movies and television, whatever the medium is. I don't understand necessarily, or at least I wouldn't do this. I'm going to watch every single episode of a thing that didn't even interest me personally in the first place, just so that I can scream into the internet, because again, it's not the wind anymore. Now people have an audience. Scream into the internet about how toxic it is, or whatever. And I feel like if you think it's important for that message to get out, there's like 100,000 other people doing it, So then it starts to look kind of bandwagony.
Yeah,
is the
absolutely.
Thing. So those are the two sides of that, to me.
Yeah, I don't know. I personally don't see much merit in that, but if people want to do that,
yeah, and like
we all get the same amount of time in our days. We can choose how we want to spend it.
Exactly. It's also their prerogative. I'm not gonna get outraged because people are deciding to, in my mind, kind of waste their time with a thing like that. And I'm also not gonna get outraged. Say it again. Sorry.
I'm not getting mad at anybody or judging anybody. I'm just trying to understand it. Yeah.
Nicholas Montes says they do it for the clicks, though. Yeah, and
yeah, I don't appreciate that. That's lame.
Yeah, I mean, if they don't really have anything to say or add to it, I don't know. And I don't mean to be wishy-washy when I say this, but I also kind of get, having your audience that's interested in whatever they're interested in and making stuff for them and getting paid, getting your paycheck. Like, I can kind of also see that too, but then I don't want things to get too oversaturated. So there's a part of me that wishes that people would have enough integrity in the content they're making to not do just what everybody else is doing.
Mm-hmm.
Like in the video game sphere right now, over the last 3 to 4 weeks, you've seen tons of videos about a retro video game retailer that sells old games online called DK Oldies, which a ton of people are seeing as a scam because they're apparently sending people consoles that at like exorbitantly high prices. Like they double or triple the price of a lot of things, games and consoles and other stuff. And so it's been really in vogue for the last few weeks, DJ, to order a console from them. I'm going somewhere with this. To order a console from them, unbox it on your channel, and see if it's actually in the shape they claimed it was, because they claim to refurbish everything. And that's why they think they can get away with the high prices they're charging. But then you've got like channel after channel after channel with a video showing that they're not cleaning the consoles, they're not refurbishing them, they're not doing anything that they're saying they're doing, and so they then look like a scam. And in some ways, it's useful to have the sheer number of examples of all of that to kind of expose this shady company that to me, with everything I've seen anyway, seems kind of shady. But then, at the same time, it also is jumping on a bandwagon for the sake of clicks. So, like should people be doing that?
Yeah, I see the same thing in my world with like people crapping on Disney or Warner or Criterion for Criterion announces this release and they're like, oh, we just got that 4K, but someone else, stop wasting your 4 picks a month on stuff that we already have. Like, I don't know, the whole outrage where you can put a thumbnail where you're making a mad face and an arrow pointing at something, and like, I don't know. That's fine as long as you're just staying balanced and just telling, as long as you're saying your honest opinions. Don't, if you get to a point where you're just, that you think that's what your audience wants, so you're just getting angry about everything, that seems miserable. I don't want to get to a place where,
well, like, it doesn't seem truthful. It doesn't seem real.
Yeah, you can't hate everything.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Unless it is possible to review a lot of new things that come out and dislike more things than you like. Like, I want to be careful with that, because this is one of the reasons I don't review as much new stuff as I used to, because, full disclosure, more things come out or have in the last few years that when I see them, I dislike or kind of hate over, like, really actually appreciating. And when I have too many reviews in a row, DJ, where I'm negative about a thing, I will get some comments from people that will be like, oh, he's just like, bashing on this for the sake of views and or to get attention, which I've never done. I always call it like I see it. But it is possible for your ratio of negative to positive to be out of balance.
Yeah. Alex Barron says, I think part of the reason people hate watch things is because it makes them feel smart. Picking apart easy bait is a good way to seem intellectual without doing any meaningful analysis.
That's an excellent point. Yeah. And it seems anti-critical thinking to me when you walk into a thing in the first place saying, here's my review. I'm going to be careful here for a second, because there's another exercise with this that we should talk about, which is not what I'm talking about. But if you walk into a thing and you call it a review, suggesting that you're going to be critical about a thing, that you're going to be constructive with your criticism, and then your approach is, here's everything that sucks. Like, the premise of the review is, this is bad, here's why, not is this bad.
Sometimes the title will be, this movie sucks.
Yes.
Like,
and that's a way to grab views that a lot of YouTube channels do now, where they kind of give you their opinion in the first place before you even click on it, because if they can get the people that really agree with them to look at it, then maybe they can drum up more of an audience, and people are not only in echo chambers, but sometimes looking for echo chambers. And yeah, I don't like that either. Maybe we've talked about this. You know what? Sorry, we're jumping around a lot. You know what one of my biggest pet peeves with YouTube videos is? It says it's a review. It doesn't in the title say how the person feels about it, like you're saying, because I've seen those too. But the person's face, you can tell.
Oh, like, yeah, you've told me about this.
They picked it, and I'm not going to call out any channels with this, because to each his own or whatever. But I don't personally like this choice where I can tell from the thumbnail whether you're going to have a green or a red sign flip. Where you picked a picture of your face where you were very excited, or you're kind of grumpy, or you're like, I don't know. I don't like that.
Yeah. Well, it saves me time because I don't have to watch your video. Just know how you feel already.
Now, I do think that is, being a kind of ostensible review, but not actually being review. I think that's a little bit different than something like CinemaSins, because he's not calling it a review. So when he comes in and he says, the exercise is, this is what I was getting at earlier, the exercise is, I'm going to point out all the flaws. Whether you like that or not, there's nothing not above board about it. He's telling you right away what kind of thing he's making, right? Like, it's not deceptive in any way.
And I hear this a lot. Like, I think in the Discord even, I hear this a lot. I don't like, what is it, Everything Wrong With? CinemaSins,
yeah.
I don't like those videos at all, but I hear people like blaming them for the state of YouTube and like calling them horrible reviews, but they're not. It's comedy. Like they're comedy sketches.
In
like
exactly
Aaron
the
Dicer
same way,
writes for them.
Yeah, in exactly the same way that AVGN is.
Yeah, so like I don't blame. I don't blame them for people misunderstanding what they're trying to do. It's not necessarily their fault. I don't like the comedy. It's not my cup of tea, but like they're not reviewing things. They're just trying to make you laugh.
Yeah. Well, and I'm not going to say that hasn't had maybe some kind of a negative impact, and that James Rolfe hasn't had that kind of an impact. Yeah. But like, I don't think it's their fault either. Like, I wouldn't look at them and go, okay, you had these unintended consequences for the comedy you're doing or the video exercise you're doing, and so therefore you should shut everything down and delete all of your videos, because at what twisty cost are you making these videos?
Like a sci-fi movie.
I don't think that's fair. I think there are sometimes unintended consequences for things that are made with the best of intentions or made benignly, and I'm not saying that to justify any horrible thing. This is my message here is not the road to hell is paved with good intentions, or it is, but so what? Like that's not what I mean to say. It's just, if James Rolfe made AVGN videos that made people go, oh, this is how you do a review, that's on the person that doesn't understand what reviews look like. That's not on Rolfe. Like, because I think he made it pretty clear what kind of a show he was making. Like, he's picking games he thinks are terrible on purpose and talking about how bad they are. Early on, and he's admitted to this, there were a couple of games in the very, very early days of AVGN, when it was still Angry Nintendo Nerd, where he would pick a game. He did this with McKids. He'd pick a game that was that he picked somewhat at random, or that he remembered not really liking very much, and he tried to find a negative angle with it. Let's pretend like it's worse than it is, and that was kind of problematic, I think. And he did too, because he quit doing it. He knocked it off. He was like, oh yeah, that was a little bit maybe kind of deceptive. And I think to some degree he couldn't decide how much of it was an act, where like the nerd is a character, right? Where it's like, well, the nerd hates everything, but I don't necessarily, but I'm putting a spin on it. Eventually he decided, yes, the nerd is a character, but I'm also meaning everything I'm saying, and that makes it, maybe I'm acting more outraged than I really am. There's nothing wrong with that. It's comedy. Like that's funny. Your character is losing his mind about a thing that you and I would be like, I mean, it's not that big of a deal. Like, just go play a better game, you know. Yeah. That's kind of the joke. But I do think that made the intent clearer with that. And so if people look at that and they go, okay, so reviews are, let's find a thing and just rip it to shreds and not mention anything that we actually think is working about it, they simply didn't watch enough reviews. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's unfortunate that the effect that they've had, because people are just, I guess, just uneducated, like you said, because I haven't watched a CinemaSins video. CinemaSins. I haven't watched CinemaSins in
that doesn't sound like it has legs. That sounds really limited to me.
I haven't watched one of those in like 5 or 6 years. But like they'll say things that are absolutely ridiculous, not a problem at all. And you're supposed to think it's funny because it's silly. But if people don't even know what issues are, then they might, take that as gospel and think that's actually a problem. Like long opening credits or something. Like they're like silly things, right?
That's right. And then you'll peg anything that does that thing that you heard the channel, the commentator that you buy into say, and like it's always a problem every time, and you're not looking at it within the context of it. It's not case by case, but like that just means that person is not well watched enough. That means that there's something kind of missing in that person's education. Those kinds of videos, and I don't mean to sound prudish about it. I say that too much probably, but I think there is a little bit of a prerequisite for videos like that where you need to be on a particular like emotional maturity and an understanding of what critical thinking looks like, what criticism is. So like I can watch somebody nitpick to death something and have a lot of fun with that because people like Plinkett with Red Letter Media, like his videos, Star Wars, Star Trek, Indiana Jones, etc., they are like weirdly objective in that he does point out some things that works with them, but he's again picking things that he thinks mostly aren't working and falling apart. And yes, he'll nitpick and he'll talk about smaller details to emphasize the larger things that aren't working about it, where it's like the reason that these weird smaller things are there is because they're a symptom of a larger problem, but also it's kind of funny. He's bringing up stuff I've never thought about before, like Star Trek Generations. Why did you have an emotions chip that is like this big when in the show it was very, very tiny? It's like, oh, because it's a movie. Like, but he is making a grander point when he brings that up. And then also a guy like that is really self-aware and making fun of himself too for nitpicking, because right after that he says, and I don't like it because it's different. And I don't like it when things are different. Well, and so it's very clear what kind of level he's working at, and that he understands the difference between, real critical thinking and just nitpicking something because it's funny.
Yeah, and one thing that he has in common with CinemaSins is they both use very dry, deadpan humor, which can probably go over. People think they're being serious when they're not.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll go ahead and start going to questions here in a second, but
I do think both of those things, Plinkett and CinemaSins and all of YouTube is probably the biggest contributor to this phenomenon.
It absolutely is. Yeah,
which is, I'm glad we finally got there because we went off on a huge tangent.
My apologies.
I think that's a huge issue. People see that because when CinemaSins was made, like you said, it was for like film bros, like for people that are big into film. They didn't know it was going to blow up and be like one of the biggest film YouTube channels, and like normal people were going to start watching it. Like they were making in jokes, and like now it's so popular, and they it's a successful business that people want to get in on that, and they think that all they have to do is just hate things and criticize things.
Yeah, when things get popular and mainstream, things sometimes get really confused, because when quote-unquote normies are looking at it and don't understand what the initial purpose was, the whole point of it gets kind of muddled.
Yeah.
I'm very on the fence about, or I should say I see both sides of it, to the whole hate watching thing. I understand people that feel like it's a bad practice in general, because if you don't like something, you should vote with your dollar and don't help it to exist. And if too many people are all like looking at something because it sucks and they don't like it, they're actually promoting it and especially if they're like talking about it on their channels. Like going back to the DK Oldies thing, like DK Oldies has actually made a lot of money from people buying their stuff because they expect it to suck. And so,
there's no such thing as bad press, man.
And so the question is, how do you weigh that? Are the positives worth the negatives with that? So like I think in a microcosm, if a person wants to support a thing so they can complain about it, that is their prerogative. if too many of us are doing that and it keeps a terrible show on the air, like, yeah, that's kind of stupid. Yeah, that kind of sucks. But then at the same time, it's not like people are magically liking it more, and it's negatively impacting the culture any more than continuing to make geeks vitriolic on the internet, and that ain't going away anyway. So yeah, I mean, again, I don't mean to be wishy-washy, but I totally see both sides of it. There is a part of me that has fun with quote-unquote hate watching. I have considered, and people, the other thing too is some of our audience really likes, actually a lot of our audience really likes to watch me suffer watching things. Like, could we say that I hate Red with Spawn? With Spawn Year? I mean, I didn't make that show because I thought it was going to be horrible. I made it because I liked Spawn. And then after about 15 issues, I didn't like Spawn anymore. But I was in the middle of the show I had to make.
Yeah, but that's another thing like Marvel Mania where you set out to do it from the beginning. Didn't go into it.
That wasn't the purpose
to hate it.
In the first place.
So one of the definitions of hate watching you did. We've split so many semantics in this argument.
I know. So I don't even know if that whole thing counts. But
yeah, I mean, to each their own. I don't even have enough time in the day to watch the things I want to watch, so I'm not going to go out of my way to watch extra bad things.
Well, and like I said, I'm in kind of a unique position, so like I'm watching things not just because I want to watch them, but because I'm talking about them. And again, when you're a reviewer on YouTube, people want to know your positive and negative opinions about things, or at least most people do. And so they want you to watch things that you're not going to like so that you can tell them whether it's worth them watching it. The difference is if you're watching a TV show that has been bad in your opinion from the beginning, why continue to look at it? And that's because, if you decide to, that's because your audience wants you to keep freaking out and losing your mind. And they find that amusing. So what I was going to say earlier is I have gotten a lot of requests to do blind commentaries on Discovery and some of the other Star Trek shows because people think it would be funny just to watch me, kind of stew and fumble around to articulate the insanity of what I'm looking at. And I've considered doing it, and that would be straight up hate watching. I don't know what else you would call that because I already know I hate that.
Yeah.
But people want me to articulate it more. So, like, if I were to do something like that, am I contributing to some sort of a problem, or am I just providing some people entertainment? And, like, the Smallville thing
They're not mutually exclusive. You can be doing both.
Yeah, I could be doing both. Like the Smallville thing I'm doing, part of the reason I do that is because that show got kind of awful, and there's some really stupid, dumb things about it from the beginning, and I have a love-hate relationship with that. So I'm like love and hate watching that, all at the same time. Is that bad? Is that a problem? I'm in there with this. I am part of this to some degree, I think. Even if you could make the argument that what I'm doing is not exactly hate watching, I think there's a vein of it at the very, very least. So I can't condemn the practice entirely because I'm in there.
Well, you can condemn. You can still say something is unhealthy if you're doing it still.
I wouldn't feel right if I were doing that and I never pointed out anything that I thought was actually working about a thing. Now, is it possible that I could watch a thing, talk about it, and didn't like anything at all? And am I being hyperbolic if I can't find anything? No, that is possible. I also don't think you should have to fish for compliments, but it would be remiss and unfair in my mind if I did do, say, that Discovery show and I didn't point out the few things that I actually did like about that show. That would be kind of asshole-ish behavior on my part.
Yeah, and I think there are a lot of people that do that just trash on it.
Well, and I'm saying that that's how I would feel about myself. I don't want to necessarily call anybody else a-holes if they're making the kind of content they're making. But I don't personally like that. That's, you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, it wouldn't be true to what you started the channel for.
Yeah. Anyway, let's go ahead and go to the proverbial phones and see what folks are saying about this and any other geeky topic, and we'll talk to you for about 15-20 minutes before the break, and then we will take a quick break. Go ahead, DJ.
All right, first super chat is from Senior Sticks. DJ, can you please sing Somebody Save Me? No, but tune in to the Crypto Freak Show this Friday, and maybe Cap will do it if he gets tired enough.
We're going to have a small super chat menu on that show, and for $10 super chats, I will be doing Smallville karaoke.
Perfect.
I'm gonna pick.
You're singing a lot of Lifehouse songs and other early 2000s artists.
Yep, it'll be like that, and I'm gonna make fun of some of that stuff. If anybody wants to do it, obviously, I'll do that between episodes. But yes, so that kind of thing could come up. I don't think he was asking you specifically to sing that song, was he?
It's a super chat, and all it says is, DJ, can you please sing Somebody Save Me?
Oh, come on, give us some bar. Give us some bar, DJ.
Somebody Save Me. I was actually singing it the other day to make fun of my wife randomly, but that's a hard song to sing a cappella or even like acoustic. Like you have to be like belting that song to even. It's just like, especially the chorus. I don't know anything else. I've only heard the chorus. Is it a whole song?
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's Remy Zero. They didn't write that song for that show. That was a song that the producers found and liked and decided to make it the theme song. But it put them way on the map.
It's crazy how...
They didn't have a hit yet, I don't think, or at least not a major one.
It's crazy how well that stood the test of time. Like, I don't know if they just thought it was cool and picked it, or if they knew that it would stand the test of time, because 10 years... Here's a phenomenon we should talk about. Maybe when we do that theme song show that we're talking about, like,
yeah, we need
is it
to get
because
to that.
they made it a theme song that it stands the test of time so well? Because any other song you listen to in those first 4 seasons is like, wow, this is 2002, like, and it feels super dated.
Well, and some of that is a perspective thing, DJ, because I don't personally have that with everything. Because some of that music I was like, not a ton of it, but some of that music I was kind of into at the time. So there's a few things that people will say, oh, this is really dated, look how cheesy this is, early 2000s, and I'm like, I don't know, I think that holds up okay. Like there are a few tracks that I think hold up just as well as any 80s and 90s rock.
Yeah, when I say dated, I don't mean it as a necessarily bad thing, especially with music. It just immediately feels like 2000s music. That's all I'm saying.
I think that song does as much as any of the rest of it. Like, I think that is a pretty early 2000s kind of song. Like,
yeah, so it just must be that it was the TV theme song for me, that it feels,
it must be
separated.
I don't think that show's any more timeless than anything else. But on the other hand, you've also not heard the whole song, and some of what some
I've only heard the chorus.
Yeah, some of the instrumentation and stuff that I'm thinking of that makes it feel very of its time, very 2000, 2001, is in the verses. Mm-hmm. I'll play you that later, and then you'll be like, oh yes, that's a very 2000s song.
Yeah, it's just something on my mind because my wife has been watching through, what's that? No, I can't think of it. She's been watching it through an old other 2000s show while I've been working, and I've been hearing it in the other room, and every time music comes on, I'm like, wow. Takes me back.
Also, none of this feels like it was 20 years ago to me. I mean, like, I'm a little older than DJ. I was in high school when that show came out. I was in, college through a lot of it. Like, 2003, 2006, just it doesn't feel that long ago to me. So so when folks are like, wow, this is like Dagan Spear said, you make fun of classic music. To me, it's not classic. To me, it's Last Tuesday.
Classic.
And also, yes, I'll make fun of anything.
All right. Connor Nielsen with a $9.99 super chat.
Oh, thanks, Connor. Appreciate it, man.
All right. Hate watching is weird. I watched all 6 seasons and 2 movies of Sex and the City despite hating the main character. I think it's the same phenomenon that draws us to news that outrages us.
We didn't even talk about the train wreck aspect. Which is what I had with Gotham, by the way, where like I can't look away because I don't understand how this can even exist.
Just a car crash, yeah.
Yeah, or with something like what he's talking about, where like you hate the main character. Maybe there's something else in that show that he was latching on to. But you're right about it being kind of like news sometimes, and this is why I quit looking at a lot of like political news and stuff, because I'd go down a rabbit hole and it just things would just anger me, and then I'd be like, oh, I'm like having a hard time being nice to people today because of what's going on in the rest of the world. I guess I shouldn't listen to too much commentary about these things and that kind of thing. So yeah, it's human condition stuff. We are weird as a species. We can't help but sometimes, there's actually a clip from a Star Trek movie that I wanted to play on the show tonight. I totally forgot to pull it up, DJ. But this encapsulates this whole thing. It's like the fascination of a thing that you can't stand. And I think, let me say this real quick too, I think some of it is simply, I'm sure it has to do with chemicals and endorphins and stuff, right? Like, so much of this is just like having, what is the word I'm looking for? Having like different experiences. There's a scene in Star Trek Generations. I can't believe that I've now referenced this movie twice. This is not a good Star Trek movie, by the way. And Data has gotten his emotions chip, and he is experiencing all of these different emotions for the first time. And he goes to 10 Forward and to the bar, and he gets a drink, and he drinks it. And great little performance, or a little moment for Brent Spiner's performance here, where he goes, ugh, like he can't stand what he's drinking. And Guinan, Whoopi Goldberg, goes, how is it? And he goes, I hate this. And she goes, more? And he goes, please. Like, perfectly encapsulates what we're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's based on personality. I don't.
It's about that's the word I was looking for. It's about sensation.
Mm-hmm. Well, masochism is a thing. I don't think I have it at all, but you might have a little bit of it. And someone brought that up in the comments.
People have called me a masochist for years. I absolutely have some degree of that, I guess. There's no way around it. Although I don't know that I would have that so much if it was just me by myself looking at stuff. Mm-hmm. It's, you know what I mean? Like,
part of it's entertainment.
Part of it's entertainment. Yeah. I know that people are deriving some kind of pleasure from not just from me suffering or whatever, but from the content that I'm making over it. So there's an incentive for me there.
Yeah.
That not everybody's going to have, whether they make content or not. For a lot of people, it wouldn't be worth doing what I'm doing tomorrow night. You know what I mean? Like, really, you're gonna spend an entire day.
It's debatable if it's worth it for you too, but
you're gonna spend a whole day without sleeping. You're gonna do this 10 times. Watch through this whole show, and it admittedly, there's something fun to me about creating sensationalism. Like, to me, it's
absolutely.
Like benign sensationalism. You know what I mean? Like, it absolutely is that. It's like, because you've noticed this with my history, where
I remember when you came up with this idea, you were so excited. Like,
I'm excited now.
Streams. I'm so excited about it. Yeah.
But like, you know this from my professional history, DJ. I love seeing how many of a thing I can knock out. Mm-hmm. Or like how close I can get to all of something. That's how Rewind started. I'm going to review every superhero movie ever made. Smallville. I'm going to do every episode of Spawn. I'm going to review these things for a whole year, not Spawn year. I'm going to do an issue every day. Like, these are my favorite kinds of concepts.
Yeah, you're an all or nothing guy. We've basically talked about that before. Live life to the extreme.
Yeah. Or take a nap and don't do anything.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, all or nothing.
No moderation here. It's not moderation evolution.
I don't mean to just psychoanalyze myself, but that's where I'm coming from with it, and where my masochism probably comes from.
Yeah, that makes sense. Ian Chandler.
Hi there.
$5.
Thank you.
Hey guys, have you ever seen a remake that was as good or even surpassed the original material? Why is it so hard to get remakes right?
Yeah, this is a thing we've covered quite a bit, but DJ, I'll let you field this first, because I just psychoanalyzed myself for 5 minutes again.
I have seen some remakes that are better than the original. I think the problem is that we talked about this before, I think the problem is that you go to things that are really, really, really good. That's why everyone knows them, and so you can have a recognizable title to sell your movie on. So, of course, there's not really anywhere to go but down. But what you should be remaking are the things that didn't work so well the first time. And these aren't... some people call these remakes. I there's a delineation I like to make where it's not a remake, it's another adaptation of the same source material.
Yes.
So things like Dread, things like Dune, those aren't remakes, even though they're far better than the first one, the first adaptation that was made. But for direct remakes, Disney made some better ones. The new Jungle Book is way better than the animated one. The new Pete's Dragon they did is way better than the original one. Most people think Scarface is better than the original one. Most people think The Little Shop of Horrors is better than the original. His Girl Friday is a movie I really, really like. That's better than the film it's based on. So yeah, there's some, but
The Thing, the
Thing,
the 70s Thing versus the original Thing, yeah.
The Fly. A lot of people like the 70s Fly.
And with the two examples we just mentioned, to the degree that a lot of people don't even know about the originals because they've been eclipsed in film canon.
Yeah. So there are some, but yeah, I think most of the reason that we don't is because of what I just mentioned, that we always remake the biggest, most popular, best movies we can.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with that to an extent, but I also think that some of it has to do with attitude and intent in the first place. So it isn't just we go to things that are so great that we can't surpass them. It's that there's not even an ambition to surpass them or to do something like so radically different that they don't draw comparison. The Child's Play remake is fascinating because it's not even full on trying to be the same thing. It feels like a different movie. And part of the reason that I liked that movie and was shocked that I did, I almost didn't even go see it on principle. And when I did, I was surprised that I liked it as well as I did because it didn't draw as many comparisons to the original as a remake usually would. It was kind of difficult to compare them. They were still they were still, you know, over the top, horror fest, slasher pictures, but they were about different things thematically a little bit. They were made with somewhat different attitudes. The point I'm making is that worked because somebody wanted to make it. Not just that a studio said this is popular and safe and name recognition and then found somebody to make it that did not care. Going back to horror, that's how you get the Flatliners remake. That's how you get the Poltergeist remake. Nobody actually cared about making those things. It was an assignment, and they got workman directors that just went, I guess I'm making this, that didn't have any ideas, where there was no real ambition there. And so, like, even with things that are brilliant in the first place, that you go, why in the world would you want to remake that? You still could get closer than a lot of things do. True Grit is a great movie, but then the remake is also good.
Yeah. Nightmare Alley. Great movie, but Del Toro's version from last year I really, really liked. And he did something different with it. Still the same story, but it was a Del Toro movie through and through.
See, I think a lot of it has to do with intent and like the reason the thing gets made in the first place. Now, obviously, a studio can greenlight something for cynical reasons and then hire the right person that is not looking at it that way, and that's when you get kind of the perfect match, the perfect blend. I think. I also. And I don't mean to just argue with you about things, DJ, but I also go back and forth a little bit now on the idea that we should just remake things that didn't work in the first place, because sometimes you'll look at a movie that bombed and the initial premise and you go, I mean, I guess you can make anything work, but why would you want to make that? You know what I mean? Like you'll have some things that seem really kind of crappy on paper too, and like even if you could make a decent movie, I don't know how you'd sell it. You know what I mean?
So, yeah, well, I'm not saying make the things that are just straight up awful, but like things where you could see it was a good idea and
potential
execution was just off.
Well, and there's some things. Here's the sweet spot. Movies, and not everybody will agree with the example I'll throw out probably, but you get some movies and franchises that were really popular, but I don't think were actually all that great. And some of those are things I'd like to see remade. That's the sweet spot because you could sell them, because people know about them, right? Something like Neverending Story. There is a much better Neverending Story movie to be made. Like, absolutely. Yeah. But people know what that is. So, like, make that. I'd love to see a remake of that.
It's a great idea, and I can't think of any examples of that. Why don't we do that more?
Right?
Now I'm
Yeah,
trying to
I
think.
can't think of another good example, but there's one. Yeah, that should be remade, and we haven't done it yet.
No, I'm saying I can't even think of any examples that did that.
Yeah. Oh,
That's
you're saying that takes a thing that's not that great in the first place, but has name recognition,
yeah.
and then makes it better. Yeah, I can't either. But that's very specific.
That's a very specific thing. But we could probably think of a ton of other like 80s things like that. I think that's kind of what they did. Well, that wasn't a remake though. That was like a sequel with the what is that thing from the 80s? The Scrinkles? What is that? The Scuzzies?
I don't know what we're talking about.
Dark Crystal. What are they called in Dark Crystal?
I don't know. I've never seen that movie.
Skittles or something? I've never
So are
seen
they
it either.
Skittles?
I've never seen that movie
The
either.
tagline was "Taste the Rainbow."
Tell me what the puppet things are called, guys. I don't know. I've never seen it. But yeah, they just made a series. But that's not a remake. That's a sequel series. But yeah, I'm watching Neverending Story movie in a heartbeat. Make it. I've read the book, and the book is pretty cool.
Well, I don't have the resources to make it, DJ, but I think somebody should. Okay, can you give us one more question?
Skeksis. They're called Skeksis.
Oh.
Thank you.
Yeah, it rolls off the tongue. I can see how you remembered. I can see how you had no problem remembering them. Could you throw us out one more question, super chat or otherwise, and then we'll take a break, and then we'll come back for the second half of the Captain Logan show.
All right. Mutale. Better Teenage Spidey, Main 616, or Ultimate?
Wow, that's such a toss-up. Like, and not entirely fair to compare, I think, because it almost depends maybe on what you resonate with more just because of the era you grew up in. Like, certainly, I think technically Ultimate Peter Parker probably resonates with me a little bit more just because he's in high school at the same time I'm in high school. But then the somewhat, like, nerdier version I also can relate to in, like, being, you know, bullied in school a little bit and that kind of thing. Not to a massive extent. Nobody like come to my rescue or tear up or anything. I didn't get, like, I never got beaten up or anything, but I dealt with that a little bit like a lot of us did. But what about you? Like, can you pick one? I think that's hard.
It's not hard for me, but I'm just, you know, from my personal experience, I haven't read much Stan Lee, and I read all of Ultimate. Ultimate was my thing. Ultimate was the first like, I had comics as a kid, just like stray issues here and there, but Ultimate was the first thing I read just like all the way through until Bagley left, and I love it. It's my favorite, so I have to go with Ultimate personally.
I think Stan Lee also, not to throw him under the bus or anything, maybe exaggerates or just makes somewhat extreme Peter Parker's initial lack of maturity in a way that Bendis doesn't. So, like, I appreciate the idea that if a kid like that got superpowers, he would probably use them for personal gain before he would think to go save people. But the first few issues of that book, he is, in my mind, a little over the top in his thinking about himself first and being a little whiny and that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And the other reason it's not entirely fair to compare them is Bendis is a reboot. He's got the original version to look at.
Yeah, he's got all of it. he can look at.
He can tweak things that didn't work as well the first time around. You know what I mean?
And he knows what he's writing towards more than Stan Lee. It was just literally, they were literally writing it issue by issue.
Seat of their pants, absolutely.
Yeah.
So not to disparage that work or that story or anything, but I mean, I can call out flaws. Like, it ain't perfect. Nothing is.
Yeah, and it's not fair, but in a way that relates to the conversation we just had, because it's a remake, and more remakes should be looking at what didn't work in the original and
a good remake of a thing that was good in the first place.
There we go. We did it.
Look at that. All right, we're out, guys. We're not gonna have a better conversation than that. So yeah, it's not a break. It's the end of the show. No, I'm kidding. We'll be back in about 3 minutes or so, and so get up and go to the bathroom, get a cup of coffee, and come on back for the second half of the Captain Logan show. Throw us some more questions because we've got plenty of room for them, and we can talk about hate watching or anything else under the sun within reason. We'll see you in just a bit. And we're back. DJ, I keep kicking something down here or something that keeps deactivating this camera.
Doo-doo-doo. I've noticed.
Yeah, I don't know if I need to replace like this USB hub I have down here or what, but like that keeps happening. Anyway,
It's really weird in my brain to associate such a pleasant sound with such a horrible feeling in the pit of my stomach.
yeah, I know. Isn't that
It's
weird?
like, ba-da-doom. Oh no, what's going on? The show's ending.
It's like Bane and Rises, right? Where like the ends of his phrases are always sound really positive, but then he's like killing people and
Yeah, he's always
taking
on the
a
up.
city hostage. Yeah, he's always on the up.
He's always raising the end of those sentences. Almost always interrogative with him.
Oh yeah, good word choice. Okay, DJ, why don't you throw another question at me? It's time for the second half of the Captain Logan Show.
All right, we'll start off the second half with Brightburn's 1985. He has a $5 super chat asking,
man.
or saying, Cap says loving Gotham and Smallville is a losing game. I've lost too many gosh darn brain cells watching both. It's like living in a moldy house.
It's like living in a moldy house. With that analogy, it sounds like what you need to do is clean your house, and it's not possible. Those things are still going to look the way they look, no matter how much pledge you put on them. That's a great analogy, though. No, I really like that. I too have lost a lot of brain cells watching those shows, and I get really like this 24-hour stream idea is such a terrible idea because I've talked circles with Smallville. I've repeated myself far too much, and I'm just gonna have to do it all over again. But come anyway, it's gonna be a lot of fun. Like.
Great pep talk. Really,
at least
really
4 through 10, you'll hear me talk about material I haven't talked about yet, but it still has a lot of the same problem. I mean, Spawn drove me insane during Spawn year because like it always went back to the same like 2 or 3 fundamental issues.
Mm-hmm.
And it was difficult not to constantly bring them up and say the same thing over and over again because you don't want to just say this sucks and not explain it, but you're constantly qualifying yourself where you're like, okay, this doesn't make any sense. This is really contrived. We got a guy that's not a writer that thinks that the way you tell stories is you change the past, not the present. And I just said it over and over and over again.
Yeah. Well, like you said, you have new stuff. Lois brings in a whole bunch of other problems, and the Justice League brings in a whole bunch of other problems, so you'll have plenty.
You know, and some solutions too, but they're not enough to, yeah.
The problem is you won't have Lex to get you through it. Like, at a certain point, Lex just goes AWOL, and for some seasons just completely disappears.
Well, for the last 3 until the last episode, and I wish they hadn't brought him back, but because I hate the way they wrote him out. You know, the way that ends to get us to a status quo that nobody's gonna see anyway because your show's done. Dang, the show's done.
But you gotta get the feels of the last episode when the theme plays.
You know, I meant to say this earlier, where I didn't even tell you how I got to the hate watching idea for the lead-in topic. And again, that's topical. People keep talking about that. But the reason it came to me to talk about specifically tonight was what I considered doing, DJ, for the lead-in topic was like a Smallville primer, since we're doing, and I guess we're kind of doing that now anyway, since I'm doing the stream tomorrow night. And I thought about titling it, Do I Like Smallville or Not? Like, do I even like the show? And then I thought, oh, we should talk about hate watching. Because effectively, that's what I'm doing.
So it is. So Smallville was always there from the beginning, even before I brought it up.
That's right. It was always there. But you might as well throw Gotham in there, too.
Yeah, well, I saw Gotham as more of hate watching than even Smallville was.
Oh, it was. It was. Because I never fully was on board with that show.
Oh, man. So, yeah, sorry, Brightburn, that you're losing brain cells. Maybe move to a new house. Ian Chandler, $5.
Get rid of the mold.
Well, sometimes it's in the fibers, man. You got to just burn the whole house down.
It's in the fibers.
Speaking of Velma, what do you think of race swapping? I don't mind it, but some people hate it. Ignoring people who are just racist, of course, says Ian Chandler.
Can I just say it depends, like with everything, and move on?
Well, that would be every question. We can't. That's
okay. Fair. I guess I have to talk about this then.
We should do an It Depends stream where we just say it depends to every single one. That'll be the new What If stream.
That'll be the one that gets 0 live viewers. Okay.
We'll get zeros. We'll get one super chat or a few super chats, and then once they realize we're doing it, they're like, "Yeah, I'm not going to pay you to do that."
Yeah. We'll get, or it'll be one of those weird shows where we'll get like $200 in super chats just so that people can see us say nothing but depends. It depends, and then it'll turn into White Castle somehow. Who knows? This channel's weird. I don't know what this channel even is anymore. It's an absolute mess, and I love it. I love every minute of it. I'm being so careful not to touch anything around my desk right now. What were we talking about? What was the question?
Me, on the other hand, I've got no cords under my desk. I can spin around and everything.
Look at him go. Well, I mean, it's pretty far over there. I don't know how I keep knocking it. I don't know. Anyway, what was the question again? Oh, race swapping. So Vince and I actually did a GNN on this years ago. So if you want to hear,
cool. Link in the description.
My longer, I haven't done that because this just came up. But if you
try to find it,
hey producer, why don't you go look that up? Why don't you put it in there?
I'll do my best, sir.
Right, you see what I have to work with here. But if you want to hear, and I probably still agree with myself for the most part, if you want to hear what my 6-7 year younger self has to say about that in 40 or 45 minutes, you can go take a look at that stream, that video. That was before everything was a live stream. But in general, DJ, I take it very case by case, and I'm open-minded, and I want to just look at the material and see and I'm not even going in all that concerned about it. Like, if the thing sucks and I don't like the character, it's not going to be because they race swapped. It's going to have like some much more foundational issues with it that's going to make, it's always going to be in the writing, right? I mean, it might be an actor issue, but very often it's the writing kind of sucks and no amount of good acting could save it anyway. So did you find it?
I found it. It's called When Is It Okay to Cast Characters of Different Ethnicity from the Original? Very catchy title.
Yeah, why didn't we just say race swap?
I don't know. Vince is doing this pose in the thumbnail, and Cap is doing this pose. You're saying something you look very angry in the thumbnail.
That's because it was just whatever thumbnail, because we didn't really intentionally put up thumbnails back then.
Yeah.
We were real professional. But what I was going to say is, DJ, I do think it's a problem I do think forced diversity certainly can be an issue, where you change a thing just to have, like, the correct number or a token number of characters of particular races or different races, whatever it is. That's... Very, very often it's kind of a symptom of a larger problem, though, where I'm not going to watch a thing and say, like, that's the biggest problem with it. If you made a thing that's real watered down, where you're just like, we're going to, because this does happen, where we're going to make a real big deal out of diversity and stuff so that we can mask how much this sucks, then it's really a problem. And I'm not even taking like political or social issue with it so much as going, no, you don't get to hide behind that. You don't get to go, look, I'm progressive. I'm doing something good for the culture, when your story's not about anything or characters aren't acting like real people or whatever. So I very often don't care about the race swapping thing, because when things are good, I can list that as one of a number of different problems. Oh, and also you're hiding behind the diversity card. That's irritating. That's being pandering to an audience. But the reason I don't mind it much of the time is because when it works, it looks like you just cast the person that was right for the part, that knew how to act that part. And very often, race doesn't really matter that much in the to like portray the character that it is. So like sometimes ethnicity and race is very important to a character's background and upbringing and all of that. When we're talking about adapting from a comic or something, or a book or something, very often it's not. Very often it doesn't. It doesn't actually really make that much of a difference. I think in that video that you just linked. Thanks for doing that, producer man. I think even in that video I suggested that I can even be okay with like a black Superman. I think you could have a Krypton that's got, you know, different ethnicities, or is all black people, whatever, and you know, black Kal-El lands, and it's the same kind of thing. Where I would draw the line would be, and this is just a practical thing. This is just, don't take me out of the fiction. If you have a like. If you have, I'm just using this as an example, a like black Kal-El that crashes in a cornfield and is picked up by black Kents and is raised and is then raised by them, I'm gonna be like, oh, okay, so you just decided to race swap the whole thing. It's gonna take me out. You know what I mean? Like it's gonna be hard to like fully buy that as not just a thing you did to make some sort of a statement or something. You know what I mean? So like, I just want it to make sense. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't think that would take me out at all. The only thing that takes me out is when like you go like like intentionally anachronistic. Like if you go to like,
yeah, sure,
the first president of the United States.
Even the
like,
thing I just said actually I think could work now that I'm thinking about it. It's so case by case. But I'm sorry, what were you saying?
Just like, yeah, like only if it's like, I don't know, like if you make a movie that's set like in Africa and cast a bunch of white people. I don't know, like if you're in, or like set a movie in like the beginning of like the founding of America, and it's like, and you just make everyone a different race. It's like, well, I mean, unless it's like a alternate history fantasy, I don't know. It's weird. I think we're doing this sometimes.
Yeah,
we're doing just like intentionally anachronistic. I think Bridgerton does this. Which I guess, I mean, you're telling me right out the gate, you're telling me up front, I guess. But like, if you're trying to play it serious and just not being historically accurate at all, that would be the only place that would kind of take me out.
We'll make sometimes a lot of excuses for that kind of thing, where it'll be like, well, it's a heightened thing, but very often what you're really doing when you talk about like cherry picking and having a like super diverse cast in an area or a period of history in a period piece where it just doesn't make sense, it's not appropriate. Very often that really does look kind of pandery to me, or like you're trying to like look progressive, and it's the same problem as any time where you're trying too hard to look accessible to a huge audience, because very often you're not actually doing it because, like, I would respect it if the reason you were doing that was, well, I don't really care actually what these people look like. I'm gonna do it like I'm casting a stage play for a local production where I just have to work with what I have to work with. Like if you're doing a production of like 1776 and you have a super diverse but small say like town of 10 or 15,000 people is all that live in your town, but like a quarter of them are black, a quarter of them are Hispanic, and there's a couple of really good Hispanic and black actors that want to play or that we're considering to cast for major historical figures in 1776, yeah, cast them. That's your pool. That's what you've got to work with, right? Mm-hmm. And so if that's your ideal, if you're thinking about it like that when you're casting a movie, I can kind of see where you're coming from. You probably have a bigger pool than that, but I kind of get that. Very often it really isn't that. Very often it's more, we just want to look like we have the right politics so that nobody's offended. And this has always been a problem with Hollywood, whatever the prevailing, ideals are.
Alex Barron,
that's what I don't like about it.
A good point. He says, anachronistic casting can absolutely work Case in point, Hamilton. Yes, obviously.
Sure.
But that is that's the point of it, though. So I'm of course not going to be taken out by it because I know going in that's the whole point of it.
And it makes it really clear what it's doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't have a problem with that either. No, of course.
I still want to see that.
What I can't deal with is here, and I can't think of a good example, but I know I've seen this. What I can't deal with is here's a biopic, here's a historical drama that's playing things, that's trying to act like it's 100% accurate, but we populate it with people of ethnicities that just wouldn't have been there. You feel a little insulted. I mean, that's my problem with it. And I just don't like the argument that like I'm gonna get in trouble from somebody, I'm sure, but I don't like the argument of well, we got to make sure that that like everybody of every different type in Hollywood is cast in things. Like, it's a real cutthroat kind of environment. Like it's not going to be fair the way people get cast. It's not the same thing as like refusing to hire somebody at a restaurant because they're of a particular persuasion. It's not really the same thing. The way you solve that problem is you let people of all types make all types of things. So it's fine to have movies of all black casts, and sometimes, yes, all white casts, and Asian casts, and Asian casts with a couple of Mexican people, and all Mexican casts with a couple of Asian people. Like, it just depends on the story you're telling. So the way you solve the problem is you just let anybody that's good at something make a thing regardless of their persuasion, because there's plenty of men and women of every kind of ethnicity and everything in between that have good ideas, that know how to make movies. And we're getting better at that also.
Yeah. Just let them. I mean, if you write from your personal experience, then if you have diversity in the writing and directing and producing area, you'll naturally have diversity in the actor category. You don't have to think about it.
Yeah, that's what I think. Yeah, that's a great point. Alex says, like everything everywhere all at once. What a perfect example.
Great movie.
Yeah, and that does not feel like a movie that's going like, look at us, we're progressive. It's, no, she's a kick-ass actress. That was I mean, she was right for that part. And then...
the opposite, actually. She's been talking about, like, when she won the Golden Globe for Best Actress, she was talking about how she's never, ever been given in her whole career a chance to show this side of her acting ability. She's only been the martial arts chick.
Yeah.
And, she's so happy that she was able to do it and blew all our minds.
Okay, so we talked about that.
What should we talk about next? Another Brightburns one. 1985, $2. I bought some accessories for DK Oldies. They work.
Oh, good. That's great. Accessories don't need refurbished as often as whole consoles and 20, 25, 30-year-old consoles. And also, some of the consoles that we're talking about that those guys were reviewing worked, but not great some of the time. And these guys would open them up and see that there was, like, clearly 20 years of dust settling inside when the thing said it was refurbished. So the issue isn't does it work, the issue is did you get what you bought? If it says refurbished, then, like, it's even worse, DJ, if it says refurbished and you open up the insides and they didn't touch it at all, because that means that it was working in the first place and they pretended like they did something to it.
Yeah, it's a straight up lying. Like, I just bought a monitor that was refurbished, and I don't know if it was broken when they sent it or if it got broken in shipping, but it was broken when it got to me. It was very upsetting.
Yeah, that sucks.
Brightburns
That's the thing. I think that's a lot more likely to have gotten cracked in shipping, but...
I hope so. Brightburns did not specify what the accessories he got were, so I'm going to assume he bought a couple pair of the Donkey Konga bongo drums.
Oh, yeah, maybe so. Those have a shocking track record of lasting. You'd
Oh
think
yeah.
those would have all broken down. Mine is fine.
Speaking of early 2000s music, I would rock some Headstrong on that Donkey Konga too.
That's hilarious. I didn't play Donkey Kong as much. I have that. That was. I didn't like that as well as far as rhythm games went as the Guitar Heroes and dance games and stuff. But I played the crap out of the only other game that those worked with, which those were for, which was Donkey Kong Jungle Beat, which was and it's wonderful.
Jump.
It gets hard.
It's a platformer. It's amazing.
It's a platformer that you play with bongo drums. I didn't know you knew about it. It is.
I loved it. I played all.
Yeah, it's the spiritual successor to Donkey Kong Country, and it's essentially a Donkey Kong Country that you play with bongo drums. Is it gimmicky? Yes. Does it work? Shockingly well.
Is it tiring? Yes.
Yes.
Because you had to. This was run, hitting the front one, and then jump was both. It was amazing.
Yes.
And then clapping was clapping like the attack? So
you clap to attack stuff, you clap to grab bananas and things, and to grab vines and stuff that shoot you around. So pro tip for anybody that ever goes back and plays on the GameCube, this almost 20-year-old game, Donkey Kong Country or Donkey Kong Jungle Beat. Don't clap, DJ. You just slap the side of it. It's so much faster, and it does the same thing. If you just hit the side of the bongo instead of you don't have to take your hands off of it. And there are places, especially toward the end, where you have to move so fast. You do not want to have to take your hands off of it. This is a thing I learned just instinctively. I kind of tried it at one point because I was like, I wonder if this works because this is obnoxious.
See, that's the kind of wonderful insight you get here on the Captain Logan Show.
Absolutely, and that you could have used 17 years ago, but
I loved. Just so, I mean, probably wasn't lucrative for them to invent that entire thing that you can only play 3 games with, but I love the crap out of it.
I've been to retro game stores that have them piled to the ceiling.
It just wasn't. You just couldn't do anything else with it. But those 3 games were fun.
It's like DJ Hero, where you just see stacks of them because people bought them and got rid of them immediately.
Yeah. Oh, Donkey Kong, it takes me back. All right, Mitale.
Here it is, DJ.
Oh.
There's the bongos.
Yes, taking me back.
That's what they looked like.
Yeah, of course I was going to be there for a Donkey Kong game, even if I did have to play with bongos, man. Donkey Kong's the best.
Yeah, DJ and I are both huge Donkey Kong Country fans. DJ, when you come over to my house, we will play Jungle Beat together.
Yes, that'll be a great video.
That'd be amazing. Yeah, we should do that on video. That would be really funny.
Do you have 2 pairs?
No, but it's not a 2-player game, so you just trade it back and forth.
Could you imagine if they did it like Tropical Freeze style, where you can both run around independently with two separate pairs of bongos?
Yeah, where it's on-screen co-op. That would be insane.
He's so loud. You're trying to communicate with each other, just banging plastic bongos all the time. Because that was the thing. Like, it was fun when Donkey Konga, it would make music when you're playing it. But when you're playing Jungle Beat, it's just dum 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 as you're running across the screen and jumping around. Good times. Shall we move on?
Yeah. Sorry, give me 1 second here.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. I'm pulling something up. Here it is. What is he doing? Get a move on.
Good. Not very good.
This guy doesn't know what he's doing. He's terrible with these bongos. That's also really loud. Yeah, so when he jumps up like that, the guy is either hitting the side of it or he's clapping to grab things out of the air. And then now he's slamming it with both hands real hard. I love that game. Would you believe I was actually playing that again just a couple weeks ago?
I'm jealous of all the video game stuff you've kept.
Yeah. My collection's ridiculous. Anyway, I keep saying I'm going to start doing videos of specific collections this year, and I haven't gotten to it yet, but I want to do that. because I've never really gone through all my retro game stuff for the 15 people that will care.
Hey, you might
But
get
yeah,
some new folks, new people coming in though. People love tour videos.
it's possible. It's not likely, but it's
Mm,
possible. Okay, moving right along.
Utale,
Hi.
35, South African Rand. Thoughts on a Michael Jackson biopic being in the works, starring his nephew, as well as sequels to Toy Story 4, Zootopia, and Frozen 2 recently announced.
Yeah, and I decided not to make that the lead-in topic either, just because I didn't have a ton to say about that.
Yeah.
People are kind of on about Toy Story 5, kind of upset about that, going like, what is the point of another one of those? We had kind of two endings. Like 3 felt like the end of that franchise. 4 was like a coda that felt like the end of that franchise. What is the point of another one? I want to be like, does it seem like a cash grab? Is it money milking? Yeah. So were all the Cars movies. And I think one of the reasons that people are annoyed about it too is because Lightyear was not good. And I think if Lightyear hadn't come out, you wouldn't be seeing as many people online freaking out about another Toy Story movie. I'm a little bit more open-minded about it just because I happen to really like Toy Story 4. It's kind of my favorite, or it's tied for my favorite, and I know I'm kind of an outlier on that, and I'm weird, but I really like that movie. So I think there are a lot more ways for that to go south than to be good. But I'm more open-minded about it than I think the most of the rest of the internet seems to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was just thinking about this actually before I even heard about the Toy Story 5 thing. I feel like they're hurting the legacy of their series because not long ago, I remember like the question, I remember this question coming up a lot actually was what hit you harder, the last 20 minutes of Toy Story 3 or the first 20 minutes of Up? Like it was like this huge emotional thing that people went through. And I still hear people talk about Up. I don't hear that about Toy Story 3 anymore because it wasn't, I think maybe because it wasn't the ending and we just keep getting Toy Story movies.
Yeah. I mean, there's also a part of me that likes that not everything has to be a trilogy.
Yeah, that's cool.
With Toy Story, but it also did feel certainly tacked on. I mean, I'm not going to say it didn't just when it came out, but it was so much better, I thought, than it had any right to be. And I really like Forky and stuff, and I don't know, like, I can't help how I weirdly felt about that movie, even though I didn't really want it to exist in the first place. As far as the other things he mentioned, Zootopia I've never seen, so I have no opinion about that. Frozen, not shocking they're doing a third one of those. It's actually more shocking that hasn't been announced until now. That's the part I don't understand, because both of those movies did $1 billion at the box office. They were both nominated for things. And then as far as Michael Jackson goes, I did hear about that, and I've heard that his nephew is a really good actor. I've not seen him in anything. But if he's, but I have seen pictures of him and he looks real close. And if he's a good actor, that's a spectacular choice and a thing we never do, where you go to like an actual family member who like has that blood and looks similar. That obviously you need to have actual acting chops at the same time. But when I've thought about this a lot before we ever had a biopic greenlit, where I'm like, who would play Michael? There's nobody. Like who would play Michael Jackson? Nobody looks like that guy. Nobody like there's impersonators and stuff, but I couldn't imagine anybody being right for it. So it's pretty cool that somebody thought of that, assuming he's a good actor.
Oh yeah, people talking about being hyped for Code Anime Fan says he's hyped for Frozen 3. Utali says Crazy Cap hasn't seen Zootopia. Ryder says he feels like Toy Story and Frozen work best as solo pieces, and all the other stuff is direct-to-video sequels in his mind.
Oh, wow.
The real question is, because what we discovered when we did our Toy Story commentary, not discovered, but like had a good conversation about, is that after the first movie, they're all Woody movies.
Yeah.
Is this going to be another Woody? What else can they do with Woody? It has to be like a legacy movie where it's about new characters, right? Like they can't make another Woody movie.
Well, they've already said that Tim Allen's coming back, and he made a big deal on Twitter about, he and Woody reuniting. But I mean, grain of salt, because it's not like they
Yeah,
have a
he's been in every
script.
movie. And
But
he's
also, it's not
always
like they have a
Cyclops.
script. How does he know what
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
gonna do? He's just
And
making that assumption, I would think.
But even so, he's come back in every other one, and he always gets Cyclopsed out halfway through.
I also think that's likely to be what happens. Don't get me wrong, but a lot of people were immediately like, "Oh, they're of course they have to reunite them, and why do that after 4?" I agree that that's probably what they'll do, but I just don't like it when people take things actors say completely at face value, because actors don't write the movies, and there's not a script. Yeah, almost certainly. Well, maybe there. Almost certainly, there's no script. But anyway, I don't know if you can even make the assumption that it's going to be more about. Well, you said legacy characters. Yeah, no, I think so too. Absolutely.
I don't think
No,
they'll make
absolutely.
another Woody movie. I think they'll probably focus on passing the torch.
See, I don't know if they'll do that, but I
Or
also think
starting to or something.
it would be cool if somebody made this movie because they actually had a Buzz Lightyear story to tell. Because I'm with you, and yes, we did talk about that at length. He's always just kind of there, because that first movie is very much about him, and then it's and Woody together. I mean, it's a it's a dual protagonist film, yeah. And then after that, it's not. He's a sidekick at best, and 4 he feels real sideswiped, even more than in the other two. But then, wouldn't it be really weird if the focus was primarily on Buzz after you had Lightyear and nobody liked it?
It's like, oh no, crap! We gotta make Lightyear cool again. We'll make a Buzz Lightyear movie. Maybe that is part of it. Who knows?
Cody Anime Fan says, I wonder if Lightyear's poor reception will hurt Toy Story 5's success. I think it's liable to, actually. That probably all depends on the trailer. Because we've seen this happen with things before, where the internet right away, or just fans, are kind of turning on a thing just on principle, and then they could put out that trailer that makes you go, okay, maybe something's here.
Yeah.
So this is one of those cases where I think the advertising is going to be paramount. I realize it's Disney, but it's going to be paramount. Okay, go ahead, DJ. But not Paramount Plus.
No. Paramount minus. That's what you call it.
Was it you or was it Austin that told me that the rumor is when they merge the streaming services with...
Definitely Austin. I don't talk about rumors.
Okay.
He does all the time. It's gotta be Austin.
When they merge the streaming services with HBO Max and Discovery, he says the rumor is they're gonna call it, what did he say? WBD Plus. And I hope that's not what it's called. Because first of all, that's like CW again, where you just take two companies and combine the letters. They don't actually really mean anything. I had Warner Brothers Discovery. I guess that does mean something. But beyond that, so now everything's going to be plus. Literally almost everything is plus at the point you put plus at the end of that.
Yep, just got to change them to Netflix Plus and Hulu Plus. Amazon Prime Plus.
Hulu Plus. Hulu Plus. There's not any plus. It's still Hulu.
Peacock Plus. Underrated streaming service, by the way, Peacock. Peacock's pretty cool.
It is. It is. No, I have a lot of appreciation for that service.
Butale thought, excuse me, just read that one. Lucas Green.
If DC Universe still had streaming content, it'd be DC Universe Plus.
DCU Plus. All the letters. Lucas Green, £5. You probably discussed this before. Do you think Mark Hamill did the right thing giving up his role as Joker now that Conroy has passed?
I hadn't heard that he officially made any kind of statement with that. It will not surprise me if he really is finally for sure retiring, where it's like, well, if Kevin Conroy's not around, like, he would do the Joker sometimes. Am I right about this? I think there's at least one example of his doing the Joker in a thing that Mark Hamill's, or in a thing that Conroy's not in. I might be wrong about that, actually. Maybe there isn't anything. But no, I mean, that doesn't surprise me at all. Like, do I agree with it or not? I'm gonna say that's not applicable. I mean, it's like, it doesn't matter if I agree or not, or I don't really have an opinion about that. Like it's his choice whether he wants to voice that or not. I don't think it would be disrespectful if somebody wanted to hire him to do that role again, and he did it and Conroy's not there. I don't think there'd be anything wrong with that. So I don't think this is a. What I mean is, there's no moral question here. I think he can do whatever he wants with that. But he did retire a bunch of times and kept coming back and doing it because of projects that were thrown at him that he decided he wanted to do. I don't think you'll see that now. Is really the only opinion I want to express is I don't think you'll ever see him voice it again at this point, and that's the only way he would full on retire, and I actually believe him.
All right, I got one more super chat, and then I will jump in the chat and talk to you guys. Mutale, why is Spider-Verse as a concept so appealing? Well, don't ask me. I don't know. I don't like it as a concept.
Yeah, Dagan Spear, I realized that the merging of UPN and WB in making CW, it's not any of those letters, but I can't remember what CW stood for. It's something about blending those companies. They got to those letters, and I cannot remember what it is now. It's been too long. I'd have to look it up, and because I was reading that, I have no idea what DJ just said, so I have to listen to this question. Sorry, DJ, go ahead.
Why is Spider-Verse as a concept so appealing?
Spider-Verse? So appealing to the masses? Because it's not super appealing to me, just as a concept. I think
not at all to me.
It's the novelty. We talked about this, but somebody has asked me this exact question, I think. But it's the novelty of history of a superhero that there's been a lot of permeations of, and that there's been a lot of different characters that are in a Spider-Man outfit. It's the same kind of novelty that we've gotten with other superheroes we've done this with. It just took longer to get there with Spider-Man, although I would argue that, well, to get there en masse with it, I mean, we did this back in the 90s. Spider-Man show, comics did that some too, but not to the degree that we've done it with Batman. Like Batman going back a lot farther, we love telling these stories with all these Batmans from different universes. I get more why that's appealing with Batman, and I've enjoyed it more with Batman because there's so many different versions of that character that all still count as Batman. I've talked a lot about the versatility of Batman. With Spider-Man, I think it's kind of and the Spider-Verse movie had a really good excuse for it thematically, finally, which I like ultimately. But I think it's kind of just dipping its toes in the same water. I think it's like, it always felt to me that Dan Slott, who, by the way, approached Spider-Man kind of like a massive fanboy, and it was very fanficky. And that's such a fanfic kind of move. It really always read to me like, Batman did this, so Spider-Man can do this too. Look how many costumes there are. Look how many different versions of this character from different universes there are. Let's throw them all together in a blender. So it's appealing to people because there's so many of them, and it's crossover material. It's crossover fodder.
I think superficially, a reason for Spider-Man specifically why it is very appealing to a lot of people is because the Spider-Man costume is so versatile. I think it's the most versatile costume of anyone. Like,
yeah,
he has so many different costumes, and so many of them look good. Like, you can make a really killer Spider-Man costume. Like, people don't get mad when you change up the. I mean, sometimes they do, but you can change up the Spider-Man costume a lot, and people like, "Whoa, that looks cool too." Like, there's a lot of Even before they did Spider-Verse in the comics, and there's a bunch of different people. Peter Parker had a bunch of different Spider-Man costumes visually.
Yeah, that's actually a fun thing, just real quick to talk about, if you don't mind. Characters that have had the most costume changes, that like. We mix it up all the time. Spider-Man is in there. It's funny because Batman and Superman both have for more or less one costume that works and then kind of slight variations on it. But it's not. But you're absolutely right. It's not like Spider-Man where you can straight up get rid of everything about it except basically the eyes and just start monkeying with everything else. Here's another character that we've done this with through history, though. Weirdly, Supergirl has this.
Oh, interesting.
And you wouldn't think that. You'd think it'd be just like Superman. but she's got a bunch of different costumes that look nothing like each other. And Spider-Woman also has that, but kind of for the same reason Spider-Man does. Because Spider-Woman has had variations of Spider-Woman and Spider-Girl, variations of Spider-Man's costume that worked to varying degrees on him, and then sometimes work better with, for whatever reason, a feminine body. Like, Austin and I had this conversation recently about when we were doing some amalgam stuff about the Ben Reilly suit in the 90s. And he and I both agree that was kind of a dumb Spider-Man suit, but then when they gave it to Marvel 2 Spider-Girl, Mayday Parker, it was great. I don't know if you remember that suit.
Yeah, I loved Ben Reilly's suit. It's pretty cool. It's also what Spider Carnage looks like, because that's the spider suit he's wearing when he turns into Spider Carnage.
Yeah, but I like it on Spider-Girl a lot better.
Yeah, it kind of has a ballet dancer look to it, where the feet go all the way down, and the waist rides up high. So I can see why you say that.
Are we talking about the same suit?
Yeah, Ben Reilly's suit with the legs,
with the weird things on the hands.
Yeah, and the pants go all the way down to half of the feet.
I guess I forgot that. No, you're right. I forgot about that part of it. But yes, that's right. Hey, what apart from the standard, original Steve Ditko suit and the slight tweaks to it in history, and the black costume, what is your favorite Spider-Man suit? Like, pick one that's not those two. Can you do it?
I knew, I didn't want you to finish that sentence, because I knew.
Well, we all love the black costume. You don't get to pick that. You got to pick something else.
Well, I'm just saying it's gonna be too hard. Even if you took those two out, there's still a lot. Like, I love Scarlet Spider suit, but I feel wrong choosing that as like my favorite, because it's so radically different. But I love it. I love the 2099 suit. Like,
2099 is obviously my favorite.
Yeah, that's tough. That is. I love the original Spider armor with the black and silver. Like, I love most of them. I especially the older ones that I have nostalgia for. Like, someone earlier asked us our favorite top 5 favorite Spider-Man games, and so any of those I love the PS1 Spider-Man game. I played it. It's probably the game I've played through all the way to the end a million times. The most I've ever beat a game, and so all the suits that are in there are like just. The Ben Reilly suit was in there. Scarlet Spider suit was in there. Spider-Man Unlimited suit was in there, so maybe not that one. That one's kind of weird. But
yeah,
Cosmic Spider-Man's a cool suit.
That is a neat suit. Yeah,
so many. It's impossible to pick. Man.
I think in my top 5, Scarlet Spider would be in there.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
If it counts, I think it counts. You can pick it in the PS4 game, so I think it counts.
Yeah, it looks cool, and the 2099 looks awesome in the PS4 game because it's all.
Like,
digital.
I feel like I've barely played 5 Spider-Man games. You know what I mean? Like, because you've definitely played more than I have. I never played the Ultimate Spider-Man game that you're always bringing up. I need to do that finally. All the 16-bit games, most of them because
you can play as
just
Venom.
Okay. Let me think real quick. Can I do it?
I'll do it. You can think while I do it, but I might have to bring up a list.
PS4 obviously would be in there. I can't rank them right off, but yeah. So that Spider-Man 2, I played it on GameCube, but Spider-Man 2 was definitely my favorite for a long time. And then what can I think of it? Is it Shattered Dimensions?
That's the four different Spider-Man ones.
Yeah, that game is wonderful.
Spider-Verse before Spider-Verse.
Yes. Anyway, there's 3. I don't know if I can come up with 2 more that I've actually played. I mean, Miles Morales I wouldn't put in there because it feels barely big enough to count as its own game and not just an extension of PS4, and I don't like that story. It's a little lame.
Yeah. So I think I could do this. The only one I haven't played is the Amazing Spider-Man 2 game, which I've heard horrible things about, so I don't think I ever will. But like I said, my number 1 is the PS1 game. I love that game, and it has never been surpassed. My number 2 is Ultimate Spider-Man. My number 3 is Shattered Dimensions. 4 would probably be PS4. And 5 I'd have to think about. But maybe the first Amazing Spider-Man 1 game, just because I like the concept of that game so much. Like, have you played the first Amazing game?
No.
It's about Smythe, and it
Yeah,
takes
you've told me about this, but I've never played it.
everything in that first movie, like that's all about genetic. Can't even think of what they call it in that movie, and they just do that. Like, so instead of, he takes that research further that Connors does, and it gives all the other animal villains, like there's a bunch of, you know how he's a bunch of animal villains, but like it's ones that you haven't seen very much, like Vermin and those kind of guys. It was a really cool concept for a game.
So when you say the only one you haven't played, you must just be saying like PS1 forward. Cause there's stuff before that you haven't played. It's not like you played there's a Spider-Man game on Dreamcast. There's a Spider-Man game on the 32X. It's not fair to say those don't count just because they're before you played video games. Like, so I threw out 3. This is part of the reason I felt the need to be mean and say that to you, DJ, because one of the games I would put on my list, of course, is Maximum Carnage on the Genesis.
Yeah. I was surprised you didn't.
I meant to. I just couldn't think of it right there in the moment.
Separation anxiety.
But apparently that game sucks.
That's the one I had as a kid. But apparently, I also had Spider-Man on the Super Nintendo, just Spider-Man, which is so hard. Have you ever played that game?
Yeah, I have.
Couldn't get past Jack-o'-lantern, the second boss.
Oh, and I think maybe actually the 5th one on my list would be the arcade beat 'em up, which is really, really good, but very bizarre, because in the first level, Venom grows like Rita Repulsa made him grow. It's very strange. Another one I had as a kid was Spider-Man and the X-Men Arcades Revenge.
Did
Yes.
you ever play that one?
You have to run around and disable bombs.
It's not fun.
No.
So Spider-Man, until he could move in 3 dimensions, was tough to.
Oh, okay, never mind.
To capture.
You know what? Maybe DJ did play most of these things. There's no way you played Web of Shadows, though. There's only one platform you can play that on. There's no way you ever played that. But
I played Web of Shadows as a symbiote one. What are you talking about?
Oh, no, I'm thinking of Web of Fire? Something Fire? 32X. There's a Spider-Man game on the 32X. There's no way you ever played that.
And I've not played any of the Game Boy ones. Like the sure. DS version of Ultimate Spider-Man, it was Spider-Man Battle for New York. It was a different game, but you could be Green Goblin instead of Venom. It was crazy.
But to be fair to you, AMC Comics reminds me that the Dreamcast and the PS1 game are the same game, so you have played that because it's the same game on Dreamcast, and I did not realize that. So
yeah, and I played the sequel recently. I didn't grow up with the sequel. Enter Electro. That was a good game too. I wish I had grown up with that one. It was cool that they got a sequel to that game.
Yes, Web of Fire is the 32X game.
Web of Fire, what a name.
Yeah, we'll look at a little bit of gameplay for this real quick.
You could get fire webbing in the 2000 PS1 game because you had to fight symbiotes. You had a fire web.
Look, he's bouncing on the Sega logo there.
Look at that fighter stance. Whoa. Look at that aspect ratio.
It's just the Blue Sky logo. Let's jump forward real quick and see what the gameplay's like. I've played this briefly on an emulator machine, but I've never actually tried to go through it. Oh, yep, you got the standard dying cat sounds on the Genesis. Oh my god, are you serious? The enemies have the same scream as the ones from Jurassic Park on the Genesis. They go, ah! That's
Look
great.
at that sky.
Where is he rescuing Daredevil?
Epcot Center?
Look, it looks like he's rescuing Daredevil. Who is that? Oh, it is Daredevil. Look, he got Daredevil tokens.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, crazy.
That's what I loved about the PS1 game so much. There's so much Marvel Comics crossovers in that. Characters everywhere.
I feel like this game is doing a good job of living up to its name, because did you see all that fire? Anyway, so we looked at that.
Yeah, one game we did not mention that will not be on my top 5, or maybe not anyone's top 5, is Spider-Man Friend or Foe. Remember that one?
No, what is that?
That is a story mode game, but also like a Super Smash Bros. Style game where they only used the character models from the Raimi movies.
Oh, weird.
And it was all the villains from that, but it was a really cartoony style. It was on Wii.
That doesn't work.
It was very strange. I'm sure there's going to be people attacking me in the comments that really like that game, but I did not like that game.
We've really gone off the rails here with Spider-Man games, but I want to show you a little bit of this one too, since we're here.
Also, he was in Marvel Nemesis, which was an awesome game.
Here's the wow, look at that kind of McFarlane-y art. That's great. But yeah, here's the arcade game, and I've played this on my meme cabinet, and I bring this up fairly often. It's a lot of fun.
That's cool. Oh, it's kind of like that Captain America and the Avengers game.
Except in my mind, it's better than that game.
Sweet. I love how he just walks with his hands at his side like a serial killer.
Let me see if I can show you Giant Venom, because it's really weird that this happens.
Yeah, you've got to play Ultimate Spider-Man, man. The fact that you can be Venom half the time is so fun.
Yeah, look at him. Look at him.
Oh my gosh.
Why is he gigantic? He starts small and then he grows huge.
Well, technically that makes more sense that he could do that with a symbiote than teleporting, which is what he does in the 2000 game.
Yeah, see here he's just fighting him normal size. He's really bulky though.
I love a bulky Venom.
Look at him go. Whoa!
Oh my gosh. He got a mushroom one up.
And then look, the aspect ratio. The camera has to zoom out, and now the play type is a little different. Now it gets all platformery.
That's awesome, dude. Give me
this
arcade one up. Where is this?
I know. At least put it with one of the other, Marvel games.
Give me
look, Namor's got his own drink. He's got his own beverage, and you can play as Namor. You can be Black Cat. This is 2-player. You can be Black Cat and Namor. And
Namor.
I forget who else. Yeah, I don't know why Namor, and then there's one more character I can't. Oh, it's Hawkeye. Hawkeye's the other character.
So random.
I know.
See, this is a crying shame. They should have kept all the fighting games together in the 1-ups, and they should have put the Punisher beat 'em up, the X-Men beat 'em up, and the Spider-Man beat 'em up all together in one machine. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I agree. Okay. We're already at 2 hours. We've completely lost ourselves in the Spider-Man games. Do we have any more super chats? Let's go ahead and knock
I didn't realize we had such a good conversation. We should have made a video about that.
I know.
Vitale,
that was fun. Can you tell me how many more super chats we have? Because I've got to get going pretty quick.
Yeah, we just got one.
Oh, good. Okay, so we'll wrap up the show here.
2. One just came in.
Make it a good one.
We've got one from Vitale, and then we'll have one from...
Like Doc Brown said, make it a good one. Okay, go ahead.
Vitale, Cap.
Yes.
Whoa, my notes app just jumped, and I lost... okay, here we go.
Hey, Cap, I got a question for you.
Just scrolled up on me. All right, thoughts on the rumor that a former Batman... parentheses, it's unknown if it's Bale, Kilmer, or Clooney, cameos at the end of Flash and will be the DCU Batman. That's got to be a rumor, man.
Yeah, I don't buy the whole whoever that is. If that were to happen, is going to be the DCU Batman. I'm not buying any of that stuff. And if it happens, you can't say I told you so, because I'm not going to be surprised by anything. Anything is possible. So when I say I'm not buying into any of the rumors, I'm not saying it won't happen. I'm saying, who knows? You know what I mean? It could happen. Who knows? Certainly not Kilmer, for obvious reasons. Sadly.
There's no way Clooney does that, right?
No.
Or Bale. I don't see Bale doing that either.
I don't think Bale would do that either. The only one it possibly could be would be Bale, unless for some reason... Clooney was a good sport and decided to do a quick cameo at the end of that, but he certainly wouldn't keep doing it after that. Anyway, I don't want to know anything as much as humanly possible going into that movie, and I'm really hoping we were talking about this. Was it earlier this show or the other stream I did this afternoon? I can't remember, but somebody else was talking about a list of characters that supposedly pop up in that, and I'm hoping not to have anything spoiled. And don't get me wrong, I'm not really expecting that to be a great movie, but A, what if it is? And B, if it's not, one of the only things that if it sucks that I'm gonna have any fun with that movie is gonna be just actually getting to be surprised by crossover stuff that happens when I didn't get to have any of that with the CW Crisis, because I knew about every single one of them before we came into that.
Yeah. But if that rumor is true,
look, if the whole movie is just if the whole thing is just fan service, can I at least enjoy it on that level and not have it spoiled for me before I walk in?
Yeah. I read an article today that that is weird if that's the case, because I read an article today, and I don't know if it's true or not, but that Michael Keaton has been removed from the Flash.
How is that possible? So there's no possible way. That can't be true.
Interesting.
You read an article that seemed above board that said that?
Yeah, I can send it to you. I don't know anything about the source.
I'm gonna look into this. Here's why that sounds crazy to me, because they've been advertising that movie entirely on Keaton, and I realized that we haven't had a trailer in a while, and I think we're supposed to get one for the Super Bowl. I guess we'll see like a spot. I guess we'll see if that happens. But unless this was a fan thing somebody made up, but I didn't think it was, there was recently a still image of the bat symbol with blood on it. It was very Watchmen-like, DJ, that said, like, coming in 1 week or something, that was supposed to be the teaser for the Super Bowl trailer, I thought. And it was, like, the 89 bat symbol, like, on Batman's chest, huge, and then the Flash logo very small underneath it, because that's how they've been selling this movie. I think that's real. So there's no way they're taking Batman out of that movie, unless that's not the case.
It says, however, according to reports, Michael Keaton will no longer appear in The Flash, and as such, will have been removed from the DCEU altogether.
Well, that movie's going to be 48 minutes long, unless he wasn't in very much of it in the first place. But wouldn't that be weird, since we got a teaser with the Batcave and Keaton and all that? But yeah, what's the source?
Oh, I don't know. I haven't read the entire article, but it's...
No. I mean, what's the source? Like, what's the website? What are you reading from?
I'm reading an article that Google just recommended me from InsideTheMagic.net.
Okay, well, I've never heard of that.
Utali in the chat says, apparently Gunn wanted Keaton and Godot removed from The Flash. It will be Batman, just not Keaton Batman at the end. Interesting. Wait, so... what?
It's weird if there's anything to this, and I hadn't heard about it yet, because you'd think that a lot of the comments tonight would be about this. Let's see, Pursue News. Okay, so what I'm seeing with this, and again, this is another website I've never heard of. Michael Keaton's Batman reportedly removed from the ending. That wouldn't mean he was not in the film. Looks like the fate of Michael Keaton's Batman and Sasha Calle's Supergirl will be a mystery by the end of the Flash movie. That doesn't mean he's not in the movie, even if this is true. You said removed from the film entirely. I don't see how that's even possible. The movie's built too much around him.
Yeah, I don't know.
It sounds
telling you what the article said.
It sounds like that's an article that jumped the gun based on this and said, oh, he's not in the movie.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, this is so Grace Randolph put out this tweet. Ending of The Flash has reportedly been changed once again to fit James Gunn's plan. The film will reset the DC universe. And he's been kind of alluding to that too. I will eat this controller if Michael Keaton is not in that movie.
I hope he is, man. I know you're excited about it.
Well, I'm not even... This has nothing to do with what I want or anything. I'm actually super nervous about that whole thing, DJ. All I'm saying is there's no movie if he's not in that movie. Like, I don't even see... or at least that's what it seems like. I know we haven't seen the thing yet. But, like, as far as I can tell, up until a couple of days ago, they were still advertising the movie on Keaton's Batman. There's no way he's not in it. Mm-hmm. That's all I'm saying. It has nothing to do with what I want. I just don't see how it's possible. AMC, there are Halloween costumes, Hallmark ornaments, and Funkos already out because the film was supposed to be released in October, if memory serves. Yes, but that doesn't necessarily prove, playing devil's advocate for a minute, that Keaton is still in the movie, because that would reflect the merchandising and advertising of the way the movie was before Gunn came in and possibly got his hands on it. But there's no way. AMC, that makes sense considering they're no longer going forward with him after The Flash. Yeah, exactly. That movie not ending with sequel bait for Keaton is not news. Like, that's not news. Because, like, of course they have to cut that. Because we already know that he's not coming back.
Hmm. That makes sense.
So.
We have one more super chat from
Okay, cool.
Goofster123.
Sorry, I didn't mean to spend too much time on that, but I was like, I got to get to the bottom of this. There's no way.
Cap, since Spider-Man,
Hi.
since Amazon Spider-Man Noir apparently isn't Peter Parker, who should it be? What game is more likely to make you get a PS5? Spider-Man 2 or Wolverine?
Yeah. Yeah, let me answer that second one first. That Wolverine game, I think I'm actually a little bit more excited about. So those two combined would probably be the system seller for me, because it's gonna be kind of weird when that comes out and I'm not playing and talking about it since I did that with the first one. That's kind of the closest thing to Arkham we have now. So I'm not saying I'm definitely getting one this year, but I'm certainly considering it. But I'm glad you brought up the Spider-Man Noir thing, because we haven't really talked about that, and we'll just end off with this real quick. This is from Variety, of course, as we mentioned earlier, Spider-Man Noir live-action series in the works at Amazon. I haven't read this article down. I had not heard that it wasn't going to be Peter Parker. Is his name Peter Parker, DJ, in that series? Because I cannot remember.
I don't know.
The show will be set in its own universe. That's cool. And that doesn't mean that it can't cross over with other things, of course, with multiverse, but whatever. And the main character will not be Peter Parker. Yeah, when you say who should it be, I'm gonna guess they're gonna make up somebody. Unless his name in that continuity wasn't Peter Parker, and I just don't remember that. I thought it was, though. But it's been a while since I read that.
On the wiki page, it is.
Okay, and I thought they called him that in Spider-Verse also, in the movie. So it is a little bit weird if he's not going to be Peter Parker.
Yeah, it's not like you need to worry about confusing people because it's Spider-Verse. They're all Peter Parker, or most of them. I guess they didn't. Not, a lot of them aren't Peter Parker, I guess, but...
Yeah, no, a lot of them aren't. But yeah, I think that's kind of strange. I don't care yet. I mean, it could still be good regardless. My big takeaway from that announcement is, yay, finally Amazon pitched something that somebody might actually want to watch, and that has Spider-Man, in it, and that makes sense as a TV show. And then my first thought was, and this probably won't happen, but my immediate thought was, I wonder if they'll just see if Nick Cage wants to do it, because I bet he would, and that could be cool. But they're probably not going to do that. And apparently he's not even voicing it again in the Spider-Verse sequel. But is that because Nora's not in it, or is he just... Or did he get replaced? I don't even know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I would want it to be... I wouldn't want Nick Cage to do it, because I would like it to be a more serious, gritty take like that material is supposed to be. And I would like someone younger. But that's cool. It's live action. That's crazy.
Yeah. No, that's really neat. There could be some really cool cinematography and stuff with that. So clearly they're going to have to play that super stylized. And I don't know.
It would be cool if they went full, maybe not full black and white, but like almost black and white. Kind of like it's just so muted in the tones that it kind of looks sepia.
It should be Sin City-esque, where it's got colors that pop in places.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's mostly black and white, but then, like Sin City, where like the yellow bastard is yellow, and there's like blood that pops out red, and that kind of thing.
Yeah, that could be really cool.
It'd be neat if they did that. I don't know if I had heard that from somebody earlier in the stream I did this afternoon that Lord and Miller were attached to this, but I don't know if that's true. Yes, apparently so. Oren Uziel will serve as writer and executive producer on the Spider-Man Noir show. I don't know who that is, so I'll have to look that up. Developed the show along with producers Lord and Miller and former Sony boss Amy Pascal, who are all executive producers. Uziel most recently worked on the screenplay for the romantic comedy Lost City, and writing credits include 22 Jump Street and the 2021 Mortal Kombat film. Boo! And the Cloverfield Paradox, which everybody hated, so good. He has also worked on the scripts for upcoming films like John Wick 4 and Borderlands, based on the video game of the same name, so he sounds kind of hit and miss. So it doesn't necessarily bode terrible that he's attached to that, because he's got good and bad credits. And sometimes things turn out horrible that have with really bad writing that has nothing to do with the writer, which sounds counterintuitive and like it shouldn't happen, but it happens all the time.
So this is interesting. So the way it's worded, it says the Untitled series will follow an older, grizzled superhero in 1930s New York City. An individual with knowledge of the project says the show will be set in its own universe and the main character will not be Peter Parker. So that doesn't mean Spider-Man Noir won't be Peter Parker. It could mean that, or it also could mean that Spider-Man's not the main character.
Yeah, I mean, I can see your read with that because the sentence is weird, but I doubt very seriously that's what's going on.
It's worded very strange. Someone else, like AMC, took it to mean that Spider-Man, he is Peter Parker, but he's going to be Spider-Man most of the time and not Peter Parker, like the Batman and the Batman. I don't read it that way, but it is a weirdly worded sentence.
Well, it could be they're ambiguous about it. We never actually get the man's name. I mean, that's also possible. Yeah. Like maybe he never takes his mask off. It'll be like Mandalorian, and then he finally will. And we'll be like, oh look, wouldn't it be great if the big reveal was it's Peter Parker? Anyway, we're gonna go ahead and get going. I've got stuff to do, but thanks a lot, everybody, for watching. Hope you had a good time on tonight's episode of the Captain Logan Show. We covered lots of ground and spent a lot of time talking about looking at footage of Spider-Man games, which I didn't think was gonna happen, but that was fun. Tomorrow night, 10 o'clock Central Time. Pop in if you're so inclined anytime over the next 18 to 20 hours after that. New co-host John and I are going to be going through the entire first season of Smallville, watching, doing commentary, riffing, counting things. It's going to be so much to keep track of. And I'm sure I'm going to fail at all of it, but it's going to be a lot of fun to do. And I hope that you'll consider coming and watching it with us. And if you can't make that, of course, it will exist on the channel afterwards in a couple, 2 or 3 different streams, because you can't keep up videos less than or longer than 8 hours, I think. So we will have to break it up, and we will continue that on to the rest of the seasons of that show. So thanks so much. Once again for watching, everybody. I was Captain Logan, and DJ, thank you for everything, man. Appreciate you.
I had fun. Bye, guys.
See you later, folks.